Let's do this. I need silence in the room.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Long Shot Podcast, brought to you by 342 Productions. I'm your host, Duncan Robinson, and I'm here with my good friend and current bachelor, Davis Reid.
Is the current bachelor right?
Well, just out of the fact that you're not yet married.
I guess that's fair. I think I lose the bachelor coinage when I get engaged, though.
That's fair. So anyways, we are checking in from Kansas City. We're out here in, what do you guys call this state?
My parents' basement.
Okay. We're out here in Davis's parents' basement, and we got a fun episode for you, but we really have a fun week in store. We got a little bachelor party mixed in with a big weekend where you and your beloved fiance will be engaged in holy matrimony.
Yeah, it's right. We're also recording with a live audience for the first time.
We are.
There are a couple guys hidden off camera that it adds a new pressure to you and I.
A little bit of nerves. I'm fighting here. Live audience is something I'm not normally used to when it comes to podcasting.
Right.
In other venues, I'm a little bit more familiar and comfortable with it.
Although we've talked about doing a live podcast, maybe this is a fitting time to plug that.
Potentially.
I mean, nothing is in the works.
No. It might be in the horizon. I think that's probably, summer of 2022 things.
Yeah.
But, you never know.
If you'd come to a live podcast, go ahead and smash that like button.
Yeah. Anyways, we got a good episode for you. Bobby Portis. It was awesome. Great interview. Ton of energy, ton of insight. And, we're just going to run through a little quick run of show so we can get right to that.
I've seen some comments in past videos that we play footsie off camera, and I did just tap your foot, so I just want to get ahead of that.
That was entirely unintentional.
Yeah, completely unintentional.
Unintentional on a variety of levels. And now there's actually a little bit of discomfort in the room.
Here's the thing. So it's a big week for me.
Huge week.
I'm getting married. I argue it's maybe a bigger week for you because free agency is around the corner.
Instead of comparing, I'd rather just say it's a big week for the Long Shot Podcast.
A massive week.
Yeah.
It
Collectively, we have a whole lot on our plate and on the horizon. But the beautiful thing is it's all good things.
Wedding August 1st. Free agency opens August 2nd. So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's an outside chance that I will be taking phone calls at the reception.
I asked you to go on silent for 15 minutes during the ceremony.
I can do the 15. Outside of 15, then you're borderline getting into the territory of selfish.
Right, I understand.
Because I have, future implications will be on the line, all things considered, that, the August 2nd is the start date, but as many know, free agency begins prior to that.
Yeah, well, I'm of the mindset that everybody eats. So
true.
Why don't we could just make August 1st a celebration for both of us. Maybe we flip the wedding into like a celebration.
I don't love that because
too.
that's your day. We're out here in your home state, your home city. It would be somewhat selfish of me to then steal some sort of spotlight. The fewer amount of free agency talk that we can engage upon, the better, in my eyes.
I'm going to go completely counter to that, and I'm going to ask you just to break down what this week is like for you. So you're a restricted free agent.
Yes, yeah. That's how it works.
Can you explain to the people what that means?
Yeah, restricted basically means that Miami holds my rights. So to kind of put it in layman's terms, they have the final say in where I end up. If I do go out and get an offer sheet from another place, they have the final say in matching that. If they do choose to match it, they have 48 hours to match the offer sheet, and then that would make me return to Miami on that same contract that I signed. So that's in comparison to unrestricted free agency, which is the more traditional version of free agency that you see, where it's basically, you can just point and shoot, choose wherever you want to go and sign for whatever amount you want to sign for. So
in that scenario, is it impossible for you to even begin to think of options?
Well, we're not going to get into that.
Oh, okay.
This will be coming out on Thursday. So I think at this point, I'm a little bit further along than I was last week when we checked in with Shams. But still, with that being said, I'm far away from knowing how this next week is going to play out.
I get it. We'll keep
there's still truthfully, there's still a lot of uncertainty. A lot of things still need to happen. At this point, hopefully you're listening to this on Thursday. The draft hasn't even happened yet. A lot of movement usually transpires around the draft because teams are shuffling and trying to move up and acquire picks and trade picks for players and do all sorts of things.
Makes sense.
You mentioned how it's a big week for me. I'd actually push back on that and say it's an even bigger week for you. But I'm also then going to selfishly take some credit here, because I'm a firm believer that we would not be embarking on this wonderful weekend if it was not for me.
Whoa, why do you say that?
So to give people some context here, our story, Davis and I's story, has been told a little bit, but we met at a prep school, postgraduates at Phillips Exeter Academy.
Yeah, not just any prep school.
Yeah, Phillips Exeter Academy. Yeah.
Phillips Exeter Academy.
A wonderful establishment. Anyways, Davis comes in off the plane, fresh off the plane, green in so many different ways. And pretty much right from the jump, you and I, develop a friendship. The basketball thing, we connected on a couple different levels, music, interests, all sorts of different things. Anyways, at this point, you had recently gone through a breakup of some sorts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you had left your high school girlfriend, Casey Ice, behind.
Wow. Full government.
We're just throwing it out there for the people. A lot of information disclosed on this episode.
I did not know we were getting in depth into my
But anyways,
relationship.
Casey goes to the University of Kansas. Davis is in New Hampshire. They choose not to involve themselves in a long distance relationship.
Correct.
Separate for the time being. Anyways, as the year goes on, it becomes abundantly clear that Davis is missing a piece of him.
I wasn't right.
And that a piece of him is still in Kansas. Now, as seniors at Phillips Exeter, as well as postgrads, you're asked to write what's called a meditation. It's a 10-page paper, and you're supposed to write it on something that's personal to you.
Yes.
You also, after writing this paper, you perform it, I guess you could say.
Yeah. You read it to
your entire English
there's
class.
music involved.
Yeah,
Like, it becomes
there's a song
performance.
selection. It's basically like, it's almost like an open mic type setting where you go up and you share something that's really personal to you.
Correct. And you work on it for months.
Well, yeah. I had the privilege of hearing your meditation, listening to your meditation.
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, it was centered around the one thing that was likely on your mind the most, which was your high school sweetheart.
Well, I'll provide a little context. Again, did not know we were getting into depth in my relationship.
Yeah. I think it's required to some extent.
Yes. So Casey and I met when we were 13 years old. We dated through high school.
Correct.
Decided we didn't want to do long distance, like you said. I didn't know what I wanted to write this paper about. It's a daunting task to write a 10-page paper about something incredibly personal to you. And I remember my English teacher, shout out to Miss Rowe, she said, what are some things you don't want to write about?
Ooh.
And the first thing out of my mouth was my ex-girlfriend.
The little reverse psychology trick. Classic.
It's too fresh.
Yeah.
And she said,
Too much too soon.
Too soon. And so she said, well, that's obviously what you should write it about then.
Wow.
So yes, I continue.
So I have the privilege of hearing you share this story. And it was one of those moments where, like, you're listening to it be spoken, and you just have chills. I will say you're a pretty talented writer. You have an ability to kind of like create images with your work. Anyways,
no, keep the compliments coming.
We're
What
done
else?
there. After hearing the story, my immediate reaction was, she needs to hear this. And at this point, I had zero relationship, friendship, anything with Casey. But I was set on the fact that if somebody wrote these types of words about me, I would need to hear them. I would want to hear them. So I took the burden upon myself to go out of my way to make sure that she read those words. Now, I asked you for permission.
Yes.
I approached you and I
That's right.
said, Davis, I think after
We
hearing
were
this,
sitting in this basement.
yeah,
Actually.
I took a trip out to Kansas City, and I said to you, I was like, you know what, Dave, like, she has to hear this. And you reluctantly agreed to share it with me.
We hadn't spoken in months, Casey and I.
And then I proceeded to go onto Facebook.
That's right.
I went on Facebook. At this point, you guys had unfriended each other, I think.
That sounds right.
So we had zero mutual friends. So it took a little bit of a deep dive. Once again, I did most of this behind your back. Once I got permission, I did the rest behind your back. I did a little Facebook deep dive. I found Casey Ice on Facebook, zero mutual friends. At this point in time, if you wanted to send a message to somebody that you had zero mutual friends with, you had to pay 99 cents on Facebook. So I pulled out my debit card, and to this day, it's the best 99 cents I've ever spent. And I sent it to her. I got a response a few days later. Understandably, she was a little bit overwhelmed, didn't quite know how to place it. But that originally bridged the communication gap. And I think, 2-3 short weeks later, you guys were just back on the horse riding into the sunset.
Yep. I got a message a couple of weeks later that said, hey, we need to talk. Because you didn't lead on that I knew you were sending the paper.
Right. Yeah, that was actually a pretty crafty play by me, is I tried to act. Well, I acted to her like you didn't know, and I was just doing this out of like a certain level of conviction deep inside of me that she just needed to hear these words. But anyways, that's why I say I'm largely responsible for not only the entirety of your relationship, but this entire weekend that we're now a part of.
I was when you first started to take this much credit, I was a little hesitant. But you know what? You do deserve some. Casey doesn't love that you take as much credit as you do.
Well,
like she's under the impression we would have gotten back together regardless. And I don't think
I think I expedited the process, and I don't think there's any denying that.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I don't know. Thank you, I guess. Is that what you're looking for?
I mean, regardless, we've probably given, with all due respect to your love story, we've probably given a little too much airtime.
No, I agree.
Let's transition here to the Reddit question of the week.
All right, good. Let's get to some basketball. So my Reddit question of the week comes from Max Yourself, and they ask, who would win in a game? All-time LeBron teammates or all-time Durant teammates? And you can maybe argue a couple of these guys. Actually, I don't think you can. But the list they gave were Kyrie, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh, Anthony Davis for LeBron's team, Steph, Harden, Klay Thompson, Durant, Draymond Green for Durant's team. So I think maybe the one you can argue here is maybe you go Ibaka instead of Draymond Green for Durant's team.
Yeah, I think, assuming that we're talking straight prime here, right?
Yes, and let's stick to the list that's given in the question. So let's go Draymond.
Okay, we'll stay with Draymond. So obviously, overwhelming amount of talent on both sides.
Well, sure.
The reason that I'm going to go with...
Have we learned nothing about talent, though, with the...
Right, so this is the reason I'm going to go with Durant's team is that I see it fitting and working more than I see the other team. Because
it's the Warriors.
I've already seen Curry, Thompson, Durant, and Green dominate.
It was pretty effective.
73-9, multiple championships. I guess Durant didn't go 73-9, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Multiple championships. That puzzle already works. You throw James Harden in the mix, might cause a little bit of complications, but with that being said, it's still just an immense amount of talent. I love that LeBron group, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to there's one basketball there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think when you look at what's unique about Curry, Thompson, Durant, and Green is all four of them don't necessarily need the ball to be great. Yeah. Durant can play off the ball, Thompson can play off the ball, Curry can play off the ball, and Green can impact the game literally without touching the ball. So obviously Harden is best with the ball in his hands, but that's what I would do. I would just let Harden be Harden and then just space the floor and just dominate basically. That's my take. I don't know what you got.
Who handles the ball on KD's team? Do you let James run point?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the usage is still a lot of it's going to Durant and Curry, but in terms of like, I think you actually make a combination of Curry and Harden your point guards.
Let's imagine a scenario where James Harden and Draymond Green are running a pick and roll, and you have Steph in one corner,
the space,
Klay in the other, and Kevin Durant just somewhere. Yeah. Doesn't matter where he's at. Yeah, as much as I want to take the opposite angle just so we can argue about it, I'm gonna agree with you. If we've learned anything from the Olympics, it's that a lot of talent doesn't always
equate to winning. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're gonna take maybe the greatest team ever in the 2017 Warriors and add James Harden, I'm probably gonna take that team.
I like that take out of you.
Right. I wish we could argue a little bit more about that.
It's all right. It's a. There's no need to create any animosity heading into this weekend. Let's just keep the positive vibes.
I agree.
The good vibe train rolling here. Long shot feature. This is a special one.
Yeah, well, and Olympic themed.
My guy Ahmed Hafnoy. Hafnoy. With all due respect, I'm sorry for probably butchering your name, Ahmed. But he is the Summer Games most unlikely winner. He's an 18-year-old who was relatively unknown heading into the Olympics, hardly qualified for the 400-meter freestyle, and went on to win it. He was in the outer lane, lane 8, which I guess, I'm not a swimming expert, but I guess puts you at like a severe disadvantage.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, found his way to the top of the podium.
So let me break down for you why the outer lane is such a disadvantage in swimming.
I'm fascinated.
There are a multitude of reasons. One, limited visibility. So think about these. These guys are constantly checking the competition to understand where they're at, right?
So I'm actually. I'm interested to hear the other ones, but just for now, I'm going to push back on that first one because I'm actually a strong believer in that. Like, you want to have the blinders on. So maybe being in that outside lane, it's just going to push you that much harder. Whereas, like, if you see that you're ahead of somebody, you might let up a little bit here or there. Or it's like what's the classic Olympic photo of, like, Michael Phelps reaching for the thing and then the other guy's looking at Phelps?
Yeah.
And it's like they put the little adage there of, like, winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. Like, it's like that whole thing. If you're in lane 8, you can't even focus on winners.
I don't know.
The only thing you can focus on is running your race.
Look,
swimming your race.
I think that there's some validity to that, but it's undoubtedly an advantage, I think, to have an understanding of what's going on in the race.
Let's be honest. Neither of us have spent any time in the water competing.
I'm not sure that I could go down and back in an Olympic pool in like in a reasonable
I could certainly
amount of
do
time.
that.
I can swim, but I'm just saying it's remarkable. Which tangent here. I think at one point we need to have just a random civilian do one of these swimming races and just have that be the line on the TV.
Yeah, the benchmark.
Instead of the world record.
Yeah.
So you can have some sense of what just a normal person would do this in.
I agree.
Anyway, outer lane, limited visibility. But here's the other thing that neither of us would understand as a swimmer. There's so much action going on in the pool that you have these like waves and ripples going on.
That I understand a little bit.
And if you're up against the wall.
It's like reverberating.
Yes.
It's a great word.
Reverberating.
Yeah.
Let that be the word of the episode.
Yeah. I actually understand. Not that I would understand it from personal experience, but I can see how that would be a factor. Anyways, nothing but love to Ahmed. Sorry, Ahmed, once again.
Ahmed.
For butchering your name. But, he's taking home gold. That's pretty special.
100%.
Where's he from again? What country?
He is
Tunisian. Felt right.
And there is a video of his family. I think they're back home watching him win the race. That's elite. So if you haven't checked out the video, check out the video.
Anyways, we have some bachelor party festivities that we need to get to. As you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, Davis is already in his I don't know what those are, some sort of wind pants.
Hold on, these are Olympic themed. This has nothing to do with the bachelor party. This is just Team USA.
I love that. That's great. Do those zip off into shorts?
They absolutely do.
That's special.
It's 100 degrees here in Kansas City, so these will be shorts.
That is, wow, the versatility.
See what I did there?
Anyways, enjoy this conversation with Bobby. He is the people's champ, simply put. Brought a lot of energy to the pod, and I think you guys will enjoy it.
He has one of my favorite quotes so far in any of our episodes, which is, "You can't test what's inside my heart."
I don't think that was exactly what he said, but it was something along those
No,
lines.
I'm telling you that's what he said.
It was
elite. It inspired me.
Anyways, enjoy Bobby.